people, the headlines, the issues impacting you, all on This Week in Cincinnati on 9 on Your Side.
Welcome back. We are continuing our look at Ohio Issue 1, which will be on the ballot in November. It would amend the Ohio Constitution. And if you're just joining us, among other things, Issue 1 would make some felony drug cases misdemeanors. It would reduce prison time in some cases, and it would ban judges from sending people to prison if they violate probation with something other than a new crime. Many judges oppose this issue, Issue 1, and chief among them is Ohio's Supreme Court Chief Justice Maureen O'Connor. Thank you so much for joining us, Justice O'Connor. Until we spoke off camera, I could not recall a time when you have come out for or against an issue. Does it speak to how strongly you feel against this issue?
Very much so. I'm very passionate about this. In fact, everybody that interviews me, and I've had quite a number of interviews on this, comment that it's obvious that I'm very passionate about this. I'm so very concerned because this will do exactly the opposite of what the proponents are claiming it will do. It will tie the hands of judges. They will not be able to incentivize addicts to go for treatment, and people will die.
That's a pretty strong statement.
It's true.
There is an overcrowding issue in Ohio jails. So why not look at something like this? Why not look at an opportunity to reduce sentencing, especially for people who have addiction issues, for example?
Well, because this is written in the form of a constitutional amendment. Constitutional amendments are written in stone once they are passed by the voters of Ohio. Whereas a statute that is passed by the legislature can be easily modified, repealed, amended, in some way changed, and be much more nimble and much more direct in addressing a problem. This amendment is so poorly written, it is so misleading, and it is so contrary to the capacity that the state of Ohio has to do what is required in this amendment, that it is, I think, deceptive.
These groups support this issue, these are just a few. The Ohio Education Association, the Ohio Justice and Policy Center, Richard Cordray supports it, the Amos Project, and the Ohio Baptist Convention. Are all of them wrong?
I think that they are correctly motivated, that they believe, as I do, and as all of our judges believe in Ohio, that addiction is a disease and it needs to be addressed. And treatment is the answer for addressing addiction. What they miss and what they don't understand is what it takes to get an addict to go for treatment. Family encouraging them, family begging them to get treatment will not do it because they don't have the capacity to rationally make that decision when they're addicted. SAMHSA, which is an organization that is national that deals with mental health and drug addiction, estimates, according to their latest report, over 95% of addicts do not believe that they need treatment.
So you're saying that under our current laws, they were kind of forced to go into treatment.
Yes.
This would take away that push by the justice system to get them into treatment as an alternative sentence.
The judges' hands are tied, literally handcuffed, in mandating treatment for someone who is a drug addict in our system. The 4th and 5th degree felons migrate into the misdemeanor category. A judge can sentence you to probation because of your misdemeanor violation, can impose the sanction of drug treatment, getting your GED, getting a job as part of your conditions of probation. And if you do not do that during your probationary period, the judge is powerless to impose more sanctions, cannot send you to jail, cannot impose incarceration.
This is not just about drug addiction and drug traffickers. This is about people who commit all kinds of different crimes in the state of Ohio and how their sentences can be reduced under this constitutional amendment. They
can be reduced, including drug traffickers that are inmates in our penal system, up to 25%. That's what this amendment calls for. In reality, the prison system does not have the capacity or programming to allow 25% reduction in all of the sentences of the inmates, the 49,000 inmates in the state of Ohio. But had they had that capacity, this amendment would allow people who are guilty, let's say, felonious assault, severe injuries, aggravated felonious assault on someone, stabs them multiple times, didn't kill them, because murder and rape and child molestation are exemptions, but that person could earn 25% good time
and get out of jail 25% earlier.
Correct.
Potentially.
They take 25%
so
off their
for the victim's
sentence.
families sitting at home, or the victim themselves, that's not something that they would probably.
Well, no, because when they agreed to the plea, because most of these are plea bargains, they agreed to it because they believed that there would be so much time incarcerated. We have the constitutional amendment of Marsy's Law, which was passed, in the last year or so, and that requires victims to be part of the sentencing of a defendant. And when they are participating in a sentencing and the victim and the defense and the court all agree on what the sentence should be, and the prosecutor, and then you've got something like the potential for a 25% reduction, and they are supposed to, by constitutional amendment, be involved in the sentencing reduction, and they're not involved in the sentencing reduction under this constitutional amendment.
Under this constitutional amendment, should it pass, what do you believe the effect on safety in Ohio would be?
Well, ironically, this was touted as a safe neighborhood initiative. When they were circulating the petitions to get people to sign these petitions, they touted it as being a safe neighborhood initiative, and I would argue that it's anything but a safe neighborhood. Theoretically, if 25% reduction in your sentence was truly available to people, those people would be back in the community. These would be people, that are convicted of trafficking, drugs, people, violent felons. They would be back in the community, and they would have impunity, really, for the rest of their sentence.
I don't have a whole lot of time left, but I want to ask you. So if this passes, people in Ohio say we will have the most liberal drug law in the entire country. So if it passes, because Cincinnati sits on the border of Indiana and Kentucky, what kind of people then is there a fear that there will be drug dealers entering our state because of that?
There will be an influx because both Indiana and Kentucky have stricter drug laws. So as I have mentioned so often, you can have under 20 grams of fentanyl in your pocket, and that will, under issue 1, will be a misdemeanor. Right now, it's a felony but it will become a misdemeanor, and again, no jail time, no incarceration possible for that penalty. And just under 20 grams of fentanyl will kill 10,000 people. And you can do that twice within 24 months, and the judge cannot incarcerate you. You can do that with just under 5 grams of heroin, which is enough to kill 500 first-time heroin users. You can do that and have roofies in your pocket and have the same consequence, which is no consequence.
Chief Justice O'Connor, we appreciate your time. Thank you so much for joining us here on This Week in Cincinnati.
My pleasure. Thank you.
We will be right back.
The people, the headlines, the issues impacting you, all on This Week in Cincinnati on 9 on Your Side.